Napoleon Bonaparte, the man who reshaped Europe with sheer will and unmatched brilliance, remains one of history's most influential figures. He rose from an ordinary Corsican boy to the emperor of the French commanding nations, conquering empires and rewriting the map of Europe with every step he took. Yet, in the strange and unpredictable world of history, one detail, one simple misunderstanding, grew large enough to overshadow the legacy of this colossal figure. His height, a myth born out of propaganda, mistranslation, and political rivalry, would eventually cling to his name more tightly than the truth of his greatness. And so begins the cinematic journey of how one of the greatest leaders in history became known not for his genius, but for a measurement gone wrong. To understand this tragedy of perception, we must return to 18th century France, a nation burning with revolution. In the chaos of collapsing monarchies and rising ideals, a young artillery officer named Napoleon emerged, a man with piercing eyes, restless ambition, and a mind designed for strategy. He moved through the ranks like a storm cutting through silence. Every battlefield became a canvas for his genius. Every victory became a declaration that a new force had arrived. He was small in stature only when standing beside the giants of his imperial guard, but in spirit, intelligence, and presence, Napoleon was enormous. But Napoleon had enemies, and those enemies were not only on the battlefield. Across the English Channel, Britain desperately needed a way to weaken the terrifying aura of this rising emperor. Every newspaper, every sketch artist, every political writer turned their ink into a weapon. Instead of fighting his armies, they fought his image. They mocked him with cartoons, shrunk him into a comical figure, and planted the idea that the French emperor was ridiculously short. The world loves simple stories, and soon the myth took root. The misunderstanding grew deeper when Napoleon's height was recorded using French inches, which were longer than British ones. So when he was listed as 5 feet 2, the English public laughed, unaware that this measurement actually meant around 5 feet 7 or 5 feet 8 in modern terms. That was normal height for the era. But the damage had already been done. The British propaganda machine discovered a secret weapon more powerful than cannons: humor, a short emperor, a tiny conqueror with giant ambitions. It became a story people repeated, exaggerated, and enjoyed far more than the complicated truth. The caricatures spread across Europe like wildfire. In drawings, Napoleon stood beside towering soldiers, looking like a child commanding giants. Artists exaggerated every feature: his hat, his boots, his posture, to make him seem smaller and less threatening. This served British interests perfectly. If the world believed Napoleon was small and insecure, then his victories could be dismissed as the desperate overreaching of a man compensating for his size. But the truth was the opposite. Napoleon did not suffer from insecurity. He did not have a complex. He was calm, calculated, fearless, and dangerously confident. His officers followed him because his presence filled the battlefield. His voice cut through chaos. His stare alone could command loyalty. He was not a short man trying to appear tall. He was a towering mind living inside an average-sized body, and yet the myth persisted. It survived through generations. It entered textbooks. It became a joke people repeated without ever questioning. Napoleon's achievements, the Napoleonic Code that shaped modern law. The revolutionary reforms in education, the reorganization of Europe, the creation of new nations. And his unmatched military genius all became secondary to a myth born from a translation era and political propaganda. But why did it overshadow his legacy? Because myths are powerful. They are easy to remember, easy to share, and easy to believe. A ruler's greatness is complicated. A joke about his height is simple. And history, when filtered through culture and comedy, often favors simplicity. Yet the reality stands strong behind the curtain of distortion. Napoleon Bonaparte commanded hundreds of thousands of soldiers. He faced down coalitions of kings and emperors united against him. He created systems that shaped modern Europe. His strategic brilliance is studied in every military academy in the world, and his presence, his willpower, his charisma, his intellect towered over men far taller than him. The cinematic tragedy is not that Napoleon was misunderstood. It is that the misunderstanding became part of his identity. He fell not because of his height, but because of the weight of ruling a continent. He lost not because he was small, but because his ambition was too vast even for an empire. Yet culture chose the smaller story, the easier story, the entertaining story, the myth one. But today, we lift the fog. We pull away the centuries-old illusion. We witness the man as he truly was: average in height, extraordinary in every other way. The truth rises like a forgotten monument. Napoleon Bonaparte was not defined by inches. He was defined by vision, determination, and a destiny larger than life itself. His height was recorded wrong. His legacy was remembered wrong. But his impact remains unshakable. He was, and forever will be, one of history's greatest giants.